gentlemen, distinguished guests. It's an honor to be welcoming you all to this interesting day of restaurant conversations. Before I jump onto what's happening in Bangalore market or Karnataka market for restaurant industry, let me tell you where it all started. Restaurant India, like you've heard of Franchise India, was an initiative just to bring restaurateur minds together, right? So that's really been our endeavor for last almost 15 years that we've been organizing these conclaves across India. And now we are very proud to say that we are organizing the first global Indian restaurant community in London. London has over 12,000 restaurants, quite similar to what Bangalore has, Indian restaurants. And this is going to be our initiative or our calling to say, Indian cuisine is now going global. From a size of the market that we address, franchising is about $5 trillion industry, out of which about 38% is actually coming from F&B. And when we started about 15 years back, our biggest pain point was that, franchising in restaurant industry was not sustainable. So we said, why don't we bring sustainability to the business of restaurateurs? I mean, some of you who were operators back 15 years back in the restaurant industry, wanting to scale into multi-unit operations across the region, you would understand what I'm talking. So, but since completely changed now, and I'm come to that. But that was our endeavor. So it was almost a $2 trillion industry which we're aiming for, and we were not able to do it. So we said, why don't we bring investors, policymakers, most importantly, our suppliers who can help us sort of streamline supply chain, standardization of our menus, make more experiential places for us and stuff like that. We thought we'll bring them together, and in that endeavor, now we organize this meeting in about 7 cities in India. Before I actually start on Bangalore, I want to tell you that, most of my life I've lived in Delhi and Mumbai. And there was a time about 15 years back when you touch down in Mumbai and you get a vibe and say, hey, you know what, where are we, where is the rest of the world? Everything's happening in Mumbai, or everything new is happening in Mumbai. And I jokingly share with my friends now that Mumbai scenario has actually moved to Bangalore. Now, when you touch down in Bangalore, you see everything which you can see as futuristic actually originating from here. So a round of applause for all of you guys who operate in this market, because really it's amazing what Bangalore is doing across sectors. It's not just what we are hosting day after, which is a tech show. It's not just in tech. I was looking at the numbers in terms of what's happening in Bangalore scene, and I've got some great panel I'll be hosting in some time, in terms of how innovative it is. So if I have to define Bangalore food scene, and you guys can speak much better than me, I'm still a student learning, it'll be a pivot between experimental and experiential, right? So we are talking about a movement in terms of food wherein, innovation has going beyond just trying to sort of create a scalable business. It's about creating experiences which would move in a very different trajectory. From a data point of view, we are about 5 to 6 lakh crore industry. It's phenomenal in terms of what we've achieved so far. But what is even interesting is that we are growing at about 10 to 12% CAGR. And that kind of leaves us into a very substantial growth in next 5 to 7 years in terms of numbers. In about 26 plus years, I've been associated with the retail industry. I remember early days of my getting into the retail media space, and we used to really struggle between the organized and the unorganized, which has completely changed now. But restaurant industry is still less than 40% organized. With my 2 decades of what I've seen in the retail scene, I think that's a phenomenal opportunity that is waiting for us to tap on. And I think that's really the real pivot. But what's more interesting in Bangalore is that there are very clear signs of leadership in terms of consumption. We are the highest per capita dining spend in the country. We are the only city wherein we see, weekends are as similar to weekday. I mean, I was on a way to this venue in the morning and I had a Bangalore cafe here. I mean, I wanted to click that picture and show it, and I'm sure Raghav here would share what happens in his stores every day. I mean, it wasn't seen of 8 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it was flooded with great business happening around. So I think those are the kind of scenario, and I was talking about, and we'll take it up, that IDC is the only thing which has replaced burger and pizza in my view globally. I mean, that's really a phenomenal in itself, an opportunity which we are talking about. We are talking about 60% demand coming from millennials and Gen Zs, right? So that's another very high growth opportunity when we are talking about our market. But it's actually one of the most difficult markets to operate in. I run a small business in partnership with Hindustan Times. It's called Business X, wherein we trade existing businesses. So it's a marketplace for buying and selling private businesses. And we see the largest number of entries which actually come to our platform are actually restaurants. So restaurant in itself is a very high churn business. And I think what is very, very critical for anybody walking into the Bangalore business, a new startup wanting, it's very high on rental. We are probably the highest rentals. Like I was talking about Mumbai, there's a place called Linking Road, and it used to be Asia's highest rental market. But today, I think those markets would be there in Bangalore. We have a very high talent churn. We aren't, I must confess, we are not the number one market when it comes to talent attraction in terms of the market. We've got food inflation, we've got changing consumer. It's a very discerning consumer we are seeing, because we are actually getting to a very high Gen Z and millennial consumer base. But we are actually one of the fastest when it comes to innovation. And we are actually experimenting quite a bit, and we'll discuss this. But what we've seen in our journey of 1.5 decades of food business, friends, is a very clear change which I'm seeing in last 2 to 3 years. It's not about cool concepts. It's about unit economics. A lot of people speak about, innovation from a lenses of creating something which created a wow for a consumer in its first 5 experiences. But it's about ensuring that your unit economics remain, your scale, sustainability in terms of scale remains. You create value for your consumer. It's not just about footfalls. It's about discipline versus hype, which is very uncommon in our kind of industry, and we'll discuss this. So with this, I want to really thank you all for the time that you've taken out. I think in last 15 years, one thing has been consistent. I do a lot of tech conferences and education conferences, which normally starts at about 9 o'clock. And it's very easy to get a house full at 9 o'clock. But in our restaurant industry, getting people at 10:30 is a call. So I thank you for all who joined in time. So with this, I conclude my remarks, and looking forward to interacting with you guys during the day. Thank you much.